Internet, Recounting, and today I want to start something a little bit different. A lot of people have been asking me if I could share some of the different kind of war stories of different gaming experiences and some of the fun tales that I've had while I've been game mastering and playing over the past couple decades. And normally I've been really reluctant to. Usually when somebody's telling you about their D&D game or whatever type of game it is that they're playing, it's not as interesting as they think it is. It's kind of like when somebody's telling you about their dreams, right? It's kind of boring to listen to. But I think I figured out a way that I can at least make this kind of a fun story to tell and listen to. We'll see about that. So I decided that the first one that I wanted to tell is actually what we refer to as the Scott Brown incident, but also about the nerdiest shirt that I own. Now, people that regularly watch my channel should have figured out by now that I have a huge collection of different nerd shirts or pop culture reference shirts. And among my favorite ones are corporate logo shirts, such as Weyland-Yutani, which I have 2 of, or Umbrella Corporation, or Arasaka for you Cyberpunk 2020 or soon-to-be 2077 fans. Even my Miskatonic shirt, I could say, is a corporate logo. At least it's subtle enough that a lot of people see it and they don't get the joke. But if you do get the joke, you can at least smile and go, yeah, I get that. But one shirt that I own has a logo on it, but no one ever is going to get it outside of a very small group of people. And that's because it happened in a game. Now, a few years ago, looking at 2009, 2010, we were playing Cyberpunk 2020. And it was one of those slow Saturdays. I just called up a couple friends. I said, hey, you guys up for having just kind of a small game between us? They said, sure. So we met. We had kind of an almost impromptu game session. Now, the setup is that the PCs were hired by some rich corporate executive. The guy's son had run away from whichever boarding school he was at and joined up with a street gang that was now squatting somewhere around the combat zone. The PCs were merely just to get the kid unharmed, get him back to Daddy, and Daddy was going to send him back off to whatever boarding school it was. It's going to be a simple adventure, just a couple hours, no big deal, and probably nothing we'd ever remember after that, except for just kind of a, oh yeah, I remember that. Not really. But what ended up happening was a whole lot different. After making some streetwise rolls, you discover that the gang is hiding out in a warehouse at the edge of the combat zone. The only entrance that you see is the front door on the street, and then there's a loading dock in the back with some door and stairs next to it.
How do we get in there?
But I didn't know what the PCs were going to do. I had no plan in mind of how they were supposed to get this kid out of there. All I knew is how many gang members were in there and that they really weren't packing anything heavy because it was just kind of a small Saturday game, no big deal. One of the PCs looked at the situation and he asked me,
is it like a for sale or for rent sign up on the door or anything?
I hadn't thought about that, but I was like, yeah, sure, why not? He asked me what company it was for, and at that point I froze. I knew all the corporations that were in the Night City Handbook, but I didn't know any of them that were real estate agencies, so I just kind of blurted out the first name that came to my mind, and that was Scott Brown. Now, just to give you a little bit of information about that, I was living in Denton, Texas at the time. And as you know, 2009, 2010, we're going through a recession at the time. A lot of buildings were closed down. And this local agency called Scott Brown that has these bright green signs. These signs were in the window of just about every other building in town, whether it be an apartment complex they were managing or a corporate property that they were trying to lease out or sell. Scott Brown was all over Denton, Texas. One of the other players was from Denton, and he had a good chuckle at that because it's like, haha, this North Texas real estate agency by the time of 2020 is now, one of the largest real estate agencies in the world. It's kind of a fun little chuckle, nothing really memorable.
Here's my idea. What we're going to do is we're going to call that number and we're going to set up a showing. And then when that real estate guy shows up, he's going to come to the front door. All those punks are going to come running out the back, and that's when we're going to get them.
Dude, that's a good idea.
So the player calls up the Scott Brown agent that's listed on the sign. He makes his fast talk rolls, and he sets up a showing because he's pretending that he's a prospective customer that's maybe wanting to lease this property for a business. And the guy says, yeah, sure, I'll be out there in about an hour. So the PCs set themselves up, one waiting in front, one waiting behind, and they're just waiting for the agent to come and arrive and open the door. A silver sedan pulls up, and out steps a guy in a nice business suit. I had the player roll a wardrobe and style check, and he was able to identify what brand of business wear he's wearing. He knew that it was armored, he knew that it was expensive, but it's like, hey, it's a real estate agent in the combat zone. Of course he's going to have some armored clothing. Everybody has armored clothing in the combat zone. Now, the first thing when it started looking like it was about to go south is the agent looks around and sees all the homeless people that are kind of sprawled around this building. He goes into his car, he pulls out this collapsible baton, and electricity starts arcing up it, and he starts smacking all of these homeless people, screaming at them, "I'm with Scott Brown, I got a showing, you get out of here, skit!" So he chases all these guys out of there, and the players are like, uh-oh, this might not be a good idea after all. But they continue watching and waiting, knowing that this guy's going to scare the punks and they're going to run out of the building and they can grab the kid. So the agent goes up to the front door, opens up the key box, and he pushes open the door a little bit. This entire wall of empty cans and beer bottles, this kind of rudimentary alarm that these squatters had set up, comes spilling down with this huge clatter, and the PCs are like, okay, here we go. Now the agent, he just kind of gives this deep sigh, like, okay, here we go again, reaches into his jacket and pulls out this enormous hand cannon. And he kicks open the door and he screams, "Scott Brown, motherfucker, get the fuck out! I got a showing!" The players freak out because all of a sudden this has become an active shooter situation, and they're terrified that the kid that they're trying to get out of here is going to end up getting shot by the real estate agency that they called to come here. So now all these punks are running out of the back of the building. The players are trying to scramble, trying to get the kid, fighting a couple gang members that are trying to protect him. And the whole time this guy is inside the building shooting the gun, screaming that he's with Scott Brown and that they need to get the fuck out of his building. Eventually the player characters grab this kid, knock him out, and they're dragging him back to the car. But that agent comes out the back door and he is still firing at them, telling them, "Scott Brown is here, get out of my building, I got a showing!" Now the players were able to get the kid, get him in the car, and get the hell out of there without anybody else getting shot. But it was such a great moment for us because no one, not even me, and I'm the game master, was really expecting it to go this way at all. So anyway, after this is done, we end up telling the rest of the players in the group that did make this small session all about Scott Brown and the Scott Brown incident. And then we ended up telling our, close friends, our significant others all about Scott Brown. And then whenever anybody is going through Denton or anywhere in North Texas and they see a Scott Brown sign, one of us would inevitably go, "Scott Brown, motherfuckers, get the fuck out!" And then sometimes we take photographs of the signs. We text them to each other with "Scott Brown, motherfucker, get the fuck out" as the text itself. And it became a big joke with us for years and years and years. But no one outside of a very small group of people would ever get this joke. Now keep in mind that the company that this is about has no idea. They're just a normal company in North Texas, right? They're completely innocent. But in the Cyberpunk universe, Scott Brown is the only real estate agency that will actually work inside the combat zone, and they are hardcore. In a later campaign where I actually did a lot of advertising that I would send out in the emails that I'd send to everybody, because I figured in the Cyberpunk universe you should have tons and tons of advertising all the time, even in the emails when we're trying to schedule the game or whenever we're doing anything like that. One of them was for Scott Brown as hiring, because I was trying to see if maybe the player characters might want to work for this real estate agency, which of course they didn't. They figured it's probably safer to go to war. But at the bottom of the ad, it said you had to have your real estate license and your small arms license because Scott Brown is hardcore in our version of the Cyberpunk universe. In fact, even the gun that agent pulled out became the signature weapon of Scott Brown agents, and I had an ad for that I once sent them. I was kind of proud of that Photoshop, really. Later on in another campaign, all the players were doing a street gang with a bunch of kids that are squatting in buildings in the combat zone. It's kind of a gutter punk game that we called it. And one of the scenarios actually opened with, they're inside their building, they're squatting, they get a couple new gang members that have joined up, they're planning their heist, and all of a sudden the door gets kicked open and they hear, "Scott Brown, motherfuckers, get the fuck out! I gotta show it!" And they start scrambling because they know that there's no way they're going to be able to take a Scott Brown agent, and now they're on the receiving end of it. And in fact, when they ran out of the back of the building, two edge runners kind of stepped out of the shadows and grabbed one of the new gang members because that was the kid from the reverse scenario, and we had a good chuckle about that. But the players in that scenario were all afraid of Scott Brown. And one of the favorite things that happened because of that is one of my players, he was at a dentist appointment or a chiropractor or something like that. And he's in one of those rooms that's kind of near the reception desk. He's laying down. He's waiting for the doctor, whoever it is, to come in. He can hear at the reception desk somebody walk up and go, "Oh, hello, my so-and-so. I'm with Scott Brown Agency." And the player who's in this other room has this I had this weird moment of terror because oh my God, they found me. So Scott Brown has become this huge joke with us, and we've had a lot of fun with it. So fast forward to 2017. In December, we have an annual sort of Christmas party that we do because it's too busy in our schedules to actually have a full-size game. But we get together on a Good Friday. We read our game journal, and we laugh and recount the whole year and, toast to any fallen PCs or memorable NPCs, and just kind of, joke and have fun and a good time because we're all friends. Sometimes there's gifts, sometimes there's not. We kind of play it by ear or so. But last year, the 2 players that were at that original game presented me with a very special gift. And here it is, a green Scott Brown shirt, complete with the Scott Brown logo, but at the bottom it says, "Motherfuckers, get the fuck out." And this is my favorite nerd shirt that I could possibly own. I love this shirt. Problem is I can't really wear it in a video because people are going to look at it and be like, what the hell is that about? They're going to think that I might be talking about the real Scott Brown agency if they're even aware of it. Because like I said, it's a small local firm. But I can't really wear it around town because people might think that I'm trying to make some sort of statement about this agency, which once again is completely innocent of any wrongdoing. It's just I needed a name at the time and I froze under pressure and I just blurted out the first thing that came to my mind, which ended up becoming a legend. Kind of like how good NPCs usually come out of spur of the moment. So there you have it, the nerdiest shirt that I own. And the story of the Scott Brown incident, one of those fun little stories that a small group of us have kind of turned into a legend that we share and we laugh about. And every once in a while, one of us will still text a Scott Brown sign to each other to kind of remember a joke that at this point is 8 years old. Hopefully the story of my own game wasn't that boring. Like I said, a lot of times it's kind of boring to listen to somebody recount the game. So hopefully you're still with me and hopefully you did enjoy it and I don't feel like I had wasted your time or anything like that. But if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you want to see some more of my stuff, some of my video reviews or other stories or anything like that, just hit the subscribe button. Until next time, players, have a great day.